Defund the police? Yep, police once again defunding themselves. A federal jury has awarded $100 million to an elderly man who was tasered by the police, busted his head, and is paralyzed from the neck down because a cop decided to break protocol, to violate the law, and to violate this citizen. Here's part of the video.
This encounter between Atlanta police officer John Grubbs and Jerry Blasingame, who was 65 years old at the time, all started with this.
Hey! He was panhandling, and the police, of course, rolled up on him, chased him, and then ran after him.
The victim's legal team says the officer struck Blasingame in his back when he was about 10 feet away from the officer.
Jerry then fell, again, face forward, face planted, and smashing his head, multiple facial fractures, brain injury, and broke his neck.
Sir.
This body camera footage shows Blasingame unconscious and motionless.
The man was not even under arrest. Let's put up the picture of the individual who was the victim of the Atlanta police, Jerry Blasingame, 69 years of age. He's poor. He was poor, so he was asking for money. And APD just considered this to be, I guess, a horrific crime and decided to engage this senior citizen, and it led to his paralysis. Well, the jury has now said the city owes $100 million to him and his family. 69-year-old man in Atlanta who sustained a life-changing injury after he was tased by the police has been awarded a 9-figure judgment by a jury. Civil rights advocates note that despite the historic victory, the officer who the court decided used excessive force is still employed by the city of Atlanta. Let's put up his picture. Now, I want everybody to know Officer John Grubbs here. You see Officer John Grubbs, he works for the city of Atlanta. He decided to physically harm a senior citizen, an elderly man who's poor, who's in poverty. Let me say this to you, young brother. In my opinion, you deserve to go to jail. Let's put his picture back up. I want people to remember him. You deserve to be in jail. You're not. You got lucky because of an industry that's willing to protect you rather than protect citizens. When you signed up to be an APD cop, when you went to the academy, I'm sure your mama was proud of you. I'm sure members of your family said encouraging things to you. Did they ever think that you would damn near kill a senior citizen because he's poor? Did you think you would be in this position? Now, I got more background to this story. Jerry Blasingame's conservator, his name is Keith Edwards, sued the city of Atlanta, the Atlanta Police Department, and one of his officers, that guy you just saw, John Grubbs, on behalf of his client, filing the civil suit in the US District Court for the Northern District of Georgia. This was back May 7th, 2019. The ask was for his medical bills, both past and present and future, acquired as a result of the police-involved injury that made him a quadriplegic with little use of his arms, to be covered by the defendants. You know, the city of Atlanta, the Atlanta police, they had an opportunity right here to simply do the right thing. They could have said, you know what? We will cover the medical expenses because that's the least we could do. They decided not to. They decided to push this all the way to trial. You know how many cases go to trial in federal court? Less than 1%. Less than 1%. They decided to push this liability all the way to a jury. And the jury decided to award not only compensatory, but also punitive, which means they wanted to punish the city of Atlanta police for what they did. There's more. A federal grand jury sided with the 69-year-old, saying that Officer Grubbs used an unreasonable amount of force, violated police department policy, and violated his civil rights when he tased the elderly man in the back after he ran away from Grubbs on July 10th, 2018. Mr. Blasingame was awarded a total of $100 million. Breaking it up, $60 million coming from the APD, 40 million coming from the cop himself. Now, will he ever get to see the 40 million? Of course not, because cops are not mandated to carry liability insurance as a medical doctor would. The Georgia division of the NAACP described the award as the largest in an individual civil case connected to civil rights violations by law enforcement. Johnson said, "We are very, very grateful to this amazing jury and so proud of the amazing work they've done in holding this officer accountable and getting justice for Mr. Blasingame." One of the lawyers representing Atlanta and the officer, Stacey J. Miller, maintained throughout the trial, while the man's injuries are unfortunate and tragic, the officer was within his rights to use the taser based on his judgment. She argued it was not a case of intentional excessive force, but a consequence of his acceptable policing based on his assessment of exigent circumstances that could endanger others. Exigent circumstances, you say. So there's an admission here that this officer violated the norms of policing. There's no question about it. There's no question that this officer's conduct, the intentional conduct, led to the paralysis and damn near death of a senior citizen. No question. And the defense was, well, the reason he broke protocol is because this was, one of those exigent circumstances. Really? Running after poor Black men who are elderly qualifies as an exigent circumstance, according to the defense. Sounds like baloney, right? A Washington assistant police chief will now be awarded for being racist. They're going to pay this SOB $1.5 million from the city of Kent after he decided to display a Nazi emblem. His name is Derek Kammerzell. He hung a Nazi insignia on his door above his nameplate. Let's put up the picture, okay? You see that? Let me explain this to you. This is a photo of the symbol, and then his name is underneath. This was used by the Nazi regiment. Their regime used that same symbol to identify high-ranking officers. It was taken down after 4 days when a detective realized what it was and filed a complaint. This man is literally telling you that his true position and rank is that of a Nazi soldier, because he's using it as his official image, his official symbol when you walk into the office. And it provides a code to others who are aware of the symbol. This sick SOB had this on his door, working for the government. A detective was sharp enough to realize what it was, filed a complaint. What happens? He gets a payout. All right, I'll put his picture up again. So the chief tried to claim that he did not understand the meaning of the insignia and that he had seen it in a show he watched somewhere. An internal investigation determined that he was completely aware of his historical context, and his past behaviors showed a pattern of anti-Semitic behavior. That's what the investigation showed. This police chief acknowledged during the investigation that he once shaved his facial hair into a Hitler mustache. This is what he said. And investigators looked into allegations that a photograph taken of the chief dressed in lederhosen appeared to show him giving the stiff-armed "Hail Hitler" salute. The chief suggested the photo just caught him in the middle of waving. I mean, guys, come on. All right, I know I cut my mustache like Hitler, and I have a Hitler symbol, and I have a photograph that looks like Hail Hitler. All of this is just coincidental, guys.